Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Townsend Housing Authority meeting. Today is Thursday, May 16th, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Natalie Call.
Kevin Smith.
Chaz Sexton Duranian. Laura Schifrin is not going to be available, so she does have an excused absence. This meeting is being recorded. Is anybody else recording? And I'd like you to all rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as usual, I would like to thank all our servicemen and women who are fighting for our freedom. I appreciate everything that you do. 1.5 Chairman's additions, deletions to agenda unforeseen prior to 48 hours of this meeting. I would like to add under, well, we can actually go 2.1.1. There's an agenda item that Kevin and I were talking about earlier that we want to bring to the board's attention. So we'll put that under 2.1.1. And 1.6 is congratulations to Natalie Call, who won the election, and Kevin Smith, who was voted as a write-in. I want to thank you both for your service, and thank you for helping us out here. Appointments. The 2.1 is position changes on the board. This usually happens after an election, and I know that I had talked with Lori in regards to the position of vice chair, and she said that she is comfortable with that position for right now. So I would like to entertain a nomination for Lori to remain as the vice chair.
I make a motion to nominate Laurie Schifrin as vice chair of the Townsend Housing Authority.
Okay.
Second.
The motion was made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign? Okay, so that is unanimous. I also would like to entertain a motion for Natalie Call to remain as our clerk, if she's willing to do that.
I will.
Okay, so Kev, can you make a motion for her?
I'll make a motion that Natalie remains as our clerk for the Affordable Housing Committee.
Okay, and I will second that motion. Any discussion? Having said that, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
What a position.
That is unanimous.
Yes.
And then as far as the chairman is concerned?
Do we need to make a motion?
All right, go ahead, Kevin.
I'll make a motion to keep Chaz Sexton to his position as chairman of the Townsend Housing Authority.
I second.
Any discussion? I'll say yes, I am willing to accept the position. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Position changes have been accepted.
Less one. You don't want to get to that one, do you?
The next one would be 2.1.1, and it was a discussion that Kevin and I had earlier in regards to a situation that has arisen. So I kind of will throw it out to you and let you talk about what we talked about.
I was chatting with Chaz earlier this evening. My work schedule has gotten to the point where, of course, the nice town residents of town were nice enough to vote me in, and I accepted. And what I would like to do is I would like to resign as a member so that we can appoint this lovely young lady sitting here in front of us, who's been so diligently coming to the meetings and everything, and I'd like to see her appointed to take my position. I'll resign, and when the state approves the alternate positions to the board or additions to the board, I will come back down and serve as an alternate to the board, or a voting member to the board. And I understand the state will approve this position in the next month to 2 months.
Okay.
That will get me through the headaches that I'm enduring at this point, and then when we get into fall and things look a little bit better, I can start coming in. I don't have to worry about there not being a quorum with Courtney sitting in my position.
Okay.
It's a good seat to sit in. I've sat, well, not so much in affordable housing in many years, but I've sat in the chairs of the town hall for probably almost 25 years.
Yeah, for a long time. I appreciate your service, Kevin. I know that you've done a lot for us. Basically, our conversation revolved around, there is a process involved with, we have currently, I'm going to jump to agenda item 2.2 and combine it with this at this point. We have a tenant member position that is open. We also are in a predicament regarding, we do not have a, we don't own any property and we don't manage any property per se. And the state had allowed that position to be a person that is residing in affordable housing that the housing authority is in charge of, so that the tenant members would be able to have a voice on the housing authority. Because we don't own property, because we don't manage any property, that position is basically difficult for us to fill because, again, we don't really have any authority over.
I believe that will change in time in some of the future affordable housing that the town will need. I think that they will, with help from either individuals or whatever, I think that there's a different way to do it. You and I have talked about it. I believe in my heart that there's a different way to do it, so the town still has control to some extent, either through partnership or whatever.
And that's part of what I want to put forward, at a later date. I agree with you.
And I will be here for that.
In our conversation, to let everybody know what Kevin and I talked about, is that I have been in contact with the attorney, the town attorney, and we are working on putting together a waiver for the tenant member position so that we can fill it with a general member. That will take a little bit of time, and with Kevin telling me in regards to the him being as busy as he is right now, but he also didn't want to put the housing authority in any jeopardy, which I appreciate. And between he and I, we thought we would put it in front of everyone here that if he did resign, we would then post for the position through the town clerk, and then we already have your application in. So what we would do then is, once the posting has been up, I think it's 10 days or 14 days, I forget what it is. Once it's posted by the town clerk, we can then make a vote to vote you in to that position. And then we just need
Go
to...
before selectmen, and
Yeah.
the selectmen, I'm sure will accept.
Right, so what we thought was if you were willing to allow us the time to be able to do that, we would then be able to earmark you for that position. Once you get into that position and we get the tenant member position open, then we'll approach Kevin again and say, we have it open, so, if you're willing. But at that time, we would have to post as well, to be fair, so we would have to post that for, again, 10 days, and then anybody that came forward within that 10 days, then we would be able to...
Maybe a better one than I will step forward.
But, well, I believe things happen the way they happen for a reason, so... But you're not going anywhere, because we will be
Nope.
utilizing your expertise as we normally do.
No, and I'll be here. I fully intend to be here to help the board in any capacity that I can. And when that position comes up, and through the 8 months a year, or 7 months a year, I'm hoping that I can be of value to the board.
which also brings me up to the fact that because of what we have in the irons we have in the fire, by the time this all comes to fruition, I think that's when we'll really be needing your expertise as well.
I'll be there.
Yep. So I appreciate everything. So that's kind of sort of where we're at, and I think that's a good resolve. I'm pretty happy with it. You're okay with that, and you're okay with that as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Of course, yes.
So I would need to have that in writing, and we need to submit it to the town clerk.
Yep.
So at that point, if you do that, then once I get the vacancy from the town clerk, they'll post it. I'll post it on the website. We wait the 10 days, and then I'll notify you once that comes in, and then we'll organize getting you. So we would have to, at that point, once the vacancy is up, we would have to have a normal vote on ours to appoint. So I guess at that point, that was another thing we can do later, is to set a time that we all can come back and meet. I'd like to put a couple of meeting times in there on a Wednesday so that we have at least 2 months out.
Okay.
And that way, if we need to do it on an emergency type basis, we can do that without a problem. Okay?
Yeah.
I will have a conversation with Lori after this, because again, I tried to call her, but I'm sure that she's in the middle of a conference or whatever they do out there. You know how those crazy real estate people are. But she's working very diligently with the state. Well, I'm just going to take the time. I'll go to the 3.1 is the chairman's and Mass State Housing Rep update and report. I just want to say that I so appreciate everything that Lori does, not only for this committee, but this board, but she does a lot of work for the town itself.
She does a lot.
I am just, her and I have been working together since, I mean, you and I have
She's been
worked
very
together.
giving of her time to
Yes,
the town for
yes.
25 years.
I just can't even begin to tell you the times that her and I have talked in regards to housing authority business. Her and I are also on the planning board together as well, and you know, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of research behind the scenes that I think a lot of people don't realize that we do. Saturday morning is not one that I sit and watch cartoons. I'm emailing you. I'm
Yeah.
texting you. You know, I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
we're doing having full-time jobs during the day or going to school or whatever we're doing. There's a lot of work that we all do, and I can tell you that when I text Lori or I send an email, I get a response back, and you know, if it's information that I'm asking if she can help me out with, I usually get it within, you know, 2-3 hours. It's just amazing. And you know, I do tell her how much I appreciate her, and sometimes you know, I don't think she really knows, but I wanted to formally say that I truly appreciate it, and I know that she's going through a bit of things right now, and doing what we just discussed, I think would also help, so that if she needs to take a little time off, that we're able to do that, and Courtney can fill in so that we can have a quorum. So I think that's a really good result.
Well, that was my concern, just as we talked earlier as well.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave her.
So I'm very happy with that, and I appreciate all you guys with work. Having said that, along with my report is I have 2 major issues to report on this week. We had the annual town meeting on the 7th, and I'm very pleased to announce that we were voted positive for $35,000 for a feasibility study. So we have been granted $35,000 to conduct a feasibility study on our Dudley Road property that we've been sorely looking to get some development in. So I took the liberty after I kind of calmed down from the glee of the news, because it's been, what, 3 years since we've been trying to get
the money.
to get the money. But we do need to RFP. We need to send it for request for pricing on it. So Lindsay, because she is now working in the land use office, and she's going to be helping us out with that. She is kind of coming up with a protocol for me, so that then I can present it to you guys on what we need to do. But we would need to now go through a formal process of what we need to do to get that going. So we would need to set it up for pricing. We would need to get all the bids, whoever wanted to bid on it. We then need to vote on what would be the lower prices of it. If we wanted to pull them in and talk with them, we could do that as well, and then come up basically with the lowest price, and then give them an
Or
offer.
the best candidate,
Yeah,
necessarily the lower price.
yeah. Well, it's kind of specific on the.
Oh, you're right, it is, it's a low bid.
It's the
That's
low
right.
bid. So, when we get to that point, in Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, after we get to that point and there's one that we like, we still go in front of the Board of Selectmen and let them know, and then they do the final approval, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's kind of sort of what the process is, Courtney, that we're looking at. And my thoughts are the sooner we get cooking on that, the better, so that we know. Our main goal is really to find out what we can do on this property, and from there, we're going to need to get a scope of work, what we're looking at. This is where we're going to have to throw out all of our grandiose ideas and then sift it down to what we feel is going to be the most practical, and then put that in the scope of work for the feasibility study to see if it works. And that's where I'm going to definitely need your assistance with that as well, because we would need to, with my understanding of what the bylaws are and with the build, what we need to build for that, and your expertise on how to put it all together, I think is going to work out well in that respect. So that was the first piece of business.
And I'll still be there to help you.
Yep. You and your helping us do all the other stuff too, because there's a lot that we would need to look at. The second bit of business was a little bit disappointing as far as I'm concerned. We had voted back in, I want to say, the last of February, 1st of March, to put a warrant article in regards to extricating the land from the Atwood Trust to give the Board of Selectmen the ability to allow us to do our work further on that. There was some issues, miscommunication. I don't know what it was, but that particular article was not present on the warrant articles that were presented in the town meeting. I didn't find out about this until I really poured over that material on the Saturday before the town meeting, which was on the 4th.
It's too late to get in.
And it's too late to get in. It needed to be in on the... the bottom line is this. I'm not going to cry over spilt milk. We've had our obstacles that we've had to jump through. I am a proponent of let's be transparent, let's work together, let's be collaborative about what we do. If there's any errors, let's kind of like move forward and get to where we need to get
There's
through.
plenty of time now to go through it and prepare it for fall town meeting.
Absolutely.
It's not that far away. We'll
Yep.
just sit down and think about it. It'll be here before you know it.
And that's exactly how. So, regardless of what the situation is, again, I believe things happen the way they happen. We've got the ability to do a feasibility study. That may give us some opportunity to also farm for looking for a partner. We are also more than willing, if anybody has, a couple $1 million laying around and don't have anything to do with it, and you would like to help us with affordable housing here in Townsend, we'll be more than glad to help you spend that money.
We'll do it efficiently.
Yeah, we'll do it efficiently and transparently. Everybody will know where every penny went to. But the guidelines that we do have to follow, Kev, I agree with you. I think we're in a better position to be able to really have our ducks in a row before we
I believe it.
we get there. So that's kind of where we are with that. And the last thing is that the Delta grant, DLTA grant that we were given, I need to check with Lindsay in regards to this. When it was originally sent out, we talked a little bit about it in the last meeting. When it was originally sent out, there was a piece that MRPC was going to help us write the housing production plan. That was not in what was sent out as an oversight. So I did have, as you, the board had instructed me to have a conversation with MRPC to see what we can do. They said they'll be more than glad to do to facilitate the public forum that we had. They'll help us do all that. We may have to absorb the cost of doing like food and that kind of stuff, which I don't think is going to be a problem. The main issue with that is that there is a report writing fee that's going to be approximately $500. And that's something that I would need to talk with, I'd like to bring it forward to talk with our liaison to the Board of Selectmen to find out what we can do to see if we can appropriate $500 to get that report written. If not, I know that I personally can help write the majority of that, but I would need them to look it over to make sure we're doing the right formatting and all of that kind of stuff. So we're still going to need their expertise. So according to what he was saying, roughly the high end is about $500, and it'll go down from there the more that we do. So that's something that we can kind of keep in the back of our head. With Lindsay coming on and being able to assist us, especially now that we have a budget too, which was approved at the town meeting too. So we scored pretty big in this in the town meeting. But we officially have a budget for the first time, and I think that Lindsay would be able to help us get that housing production open forum done, and at least we can do it in a pretty top-notch way and have a good solid report that we're going to have for 2020, which will then open up a lot of avenues for me to be able to help with writing grants. I mean, that's the big thing. I know that we've got the master plan that's still being worked on now, being formulated, and with the housing production plan that we're going to be able to start working on now and then have it for 2020. I'm really looking forward to making sure that that's pretty top notch. I'm excited about it. I don't know if anybody saw the news the past couple of days, but the governor has been in front of the legislature in regards to increasing housing in the state. He has requested the lawmakers to look into the laws in regards to the bylaws in regards to building ordinances, and where it states in regards to building where it says a 2/3 vote, he's asking for a popular vote to change. Did you hear
You're
about
talking
that?
about making a lot of zoning changes too to help these towns to to put in affordable housing as well as senior housing, over 55 housing.
Correct.
They're working pretty diligently at the state level. They're actually up the towns. They're pressuring the towns to do some different things to get
To be more creative.
forward. Yeah.
Yep. When Lori and I had gone to a function with Sheila Harrington, and I had an opportunity to talk with Governor Baker, and he put me in touch with a couple of people, one from DHCD and one from the State House, in regards to looking at, I explained to him what we had, the 11 plus acres, and what we're looking for, and he had some really good ideas, and he put me in touch with some people that really, he got right back to me with these names of people, and they then called me after that. You know what I mean? So this is a big push. I think this is again, the timing is all falling into place with all of what we're doing. So I think that's important as well. But that's something that I think that we are able to, with that in the master plan and the housing production plan, everything's kind of fallen into place with where we want to go. And then along with looking at the structure of the housing authority itself and seeing what we can do to make sure that we are holding on to any properties that we build, so that the town is going to be managing it instead of letting those
Giving up
dollars
that
go on.
control and giving the property away is, to me, doesn't appear to be the right way to do it.
Yep. And I think that we're now coming into a position where we can actually do something about it. So I agree with you, Kev, on that. And I guess
Well, it's a nice step in the right direction for
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. I think finally that we've got some traction on where we're going to go, and we also have the backing of the governor too, which is kind of a nice feeling to have. So, annual town meeting, proposed warrants, 3.3, the feasibility study we talked about. 3.4, next steps in affordable housing project. So, what are I put that on the agenda just for kind of dreamscaping, where do we see this going from here? It's not that we're looking to set some concrete things, but, what do you think our next steps are right now for, where we are with the project?
Well, I think it's time you're gonna have to start thinking about civils, because the feasibility should include that.
Yeah.
Right? That's,
Well, the feasibility was, I didn't pull it out. I did get a quote from MRPC back in December, not last year, but the year before that. And they gave us a very rough estimate of what it is and what it entailed. And it really was basically, as it was described to me, defining the sandbox in which we're going to be building into. So,
which is civil.
yeah. So,
I wonder if we shouldn't think about that a little bit, because I may be able to reach out to a couple of civil engineers and that might be able to help us with that, and also maybe contribute some, waive some of the fees to do some of the stuff there free gratis.
and that's been our...
We'll do whatever our company can do, as we did with Townsend Woods.
Mhm.
We'll provide the equipment for all the testing and layout and different things to help there at no cost to the town.
Mhm. Because we got the amount of money that we did doesn't necessarily mean we have to spend it all either. So my
Yeah,
thought is to do what we can do
I'd
for
run that
free.
money just as far as you can make it go.
Yep. But here's a thought that I've done some studying and some research, and I'm not asking for comment or yay or nay on it. I'm just going to throw it out. I know that it's been a concern of this board that the senior housing is going to be another major thing for us to have. I know that another concern that's been brought up, not only from this board, but also from members of anybody that writes to housing@townsend.mass.us. I answer all that email, I read it and I answer it, and a lot of questions have to do with the wait list that is currently on Atwood Acres in Townsend Woods. And are we looking at trying to reduce that and that kind of stuff?
Well, how do you, the people are there basically until the end.
Right. So we have no control over who gets in, who doesn't get in, how long the wait list is, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, unfortunately.
Right, we
No.
don't. So my thoughts are this, and again, I'm not looking for any yay or nay, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. I've looked at a couple of options, and one of them that kind of pops into my head is, having some sort of a transitional option for people who may be needing to sell their property because of financial reasons or whatever, and need to have some temporary place until something that Townsend Woods or Atwood Acres opens up. There's several different nonprofit agencies that would be affiliated with HUD resources and that kind of stuff.
The problem is, it's the same thing. There's a waiting list and trying to get, these poor people, they can't get in. There's no places available.
Right. Right. No,
It's
I
like
get it. So what I'm
I
saying
was
is
all for-
having a place for them, for a temporary place, so that they're in there, and a temporary could be a year. It could be a little more than that until something opens up in one of the two facilities. I'm looking to ease or lower the wait list on there. What I'm finding from state agencies is they're telling me you need to be creative on how you do that.
Yeah, I don't.
So that
At
was,
least, that in the veterans house, and I've been, I was the staunch proponent of the, trying to push forward some veterans housing, and boy, I'll tell you, it was a tough go.
Yep. So I honestly don't see. I think because we do need to be creative, I think we need to do a multi-use type facility, not just one building, but several different. You and I have talked about
Well, that was my thought from the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah, mine too, and I
But
was.
we're limited. We're limited because of wetlands. If we put it in under the affordable housing, we can back them right up against the wetlands. that was something I didn't want to do.
I
That's why I
personally
had
don't
approached
want
trying to, a different avenue with some land in the back that conservation holds jurisdiction over or owns, and doesn't seem to want to, that didn't seem to want to go anywhere, so
Yeah.
I guess
Oh,
we're
was that
back
when
to...
we went in front of the Conservation Commission?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it appears now that they, even though I believe that the state, Sheila was willing to help us and try to get it, through the state. It appears that didn't want to work, so I think we're going to go back to building as close to the brook as we can get to maximize the density, the area that we have left on the Atwood property. As much as I don't care much to do, but I don't think, our hands are pretty well tied when we couldn't do anything on that piece up in the back. So I guess we're just going to have to shuffle forwards with the piece that the remaining parcel that's there, and where it is an affordable housing. As much as I don't like the proximity to the wetlands, those buildings, we're just going to have to go up pretty close to the wetlands with the buildings and whatever's allowed by,
And to maximize it as much as we
and
can.
maximize maximize it as much as we can. Because we're going to need all the units down the road that are going to fit on the remaining land. Just trying to find something that'll look nice in there.
That, yeah,
It's
and to
gonna be
keep with
difficult when you're trying to put that kind of density in there.
Yeah. I've looked at some of the state projections, and I've looked at our town projections, and which again is part of the reason why I feel that the master plan is going to be important for us moving forward.
Well, where are we now at 4.6% in affordable? Where are we?
4.7.
4.7.
Yeah.
A long ways off from where we should be, but really, I suppose we should consider ourselves fairly fortunate, because there's so many other towns in the Commonwealth that don't have 4.7%.
And I've asked, in my meetings that I've had with state officials in regards to that, my impression is that number is not what they're looking at.
No, they're just looking for the most that you can.
Well, what you're doing, if you're doing something
If
about
you're trying, you're trying.
With DHCD especially, there's other things that I've been working on for the Housing Authority, that I've actually been working with one of the Board of Selectmen members to see if we can get on this preferred grant type thing for the state. And in order for us to be able to do that, there are certain things that we need to do, and so there's a lot of...
They're holding you to the fire too. The guidelines are...
Right, they're very strict and that kind of stuff. So what I'm thinking...
Controlling, you're going to give up, by doing that, you're going to give up control of the land.
Well, I'm not saying this land, I'm not
Oh.
saying that at all. This is in general.
Oh, okay.
This is just in general. I'm
sorry, I lost you.
No, just increasing the housing,
Yeah.
just all of the housing in Townsend, not just the affordable housing. And I agree with you. That's not the route that I'm looking to take. But I'm saying in general.
I don't believe that's in the best interest of the town or the taxpayer
What do you mean?
to give up the land.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you.
To lose control over it. And
You're saying the way in which both Atwood Acres and Townsend Woods are.
in my personal opinion,
Okay.
I've always thought that.
Yes, and we have no say in what's going on in those buildings. As a housing authority, that's where I feel like our hands are tied. I agree with you. I agree 100% with you. So, where I'm looking at is that it's affordable housing that we need to have, but we need to have affordable housing for all generations and not just one.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So, yes, there's going to be an increase for the need for senior housing in this particular town, just like every other town in Massachusetts, which is the major concern right there.
Even over 55.
Yep.
We have none of that designated in town yet.
Yeah, but if we look at if we go projected after the curve of, building the house, by the time we get these built for the seniors, it's going to be decreasing. We're going to be on the other side of the curve. So that, in let's say 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, we're going to have a lot of senior housing and we don't have a lot of seniors that's going to be in there. So we have to think of that as well, too.
We don't know that.
I'm just going by state projections.
I know.
We have to
they've
be
been wrong before.
Right. So that's why I'm saying multi-use facilities are really the way I feel.
I believe, too.
The way that they should go. They should be age in place. So if there are people that meet the financial
Criteria.
status to be able to do that, they can stay in the apartment. If there are elderly apartments, we can have them, they can be adjusted accordingly. There's got to be ADA compliant, and the governor was saying to me that, if you are doing multi-use and you need help with ADA compliant and all of that kind of stuff, he said we have plenty of organizations to help you out with getting the money to do that. So.
Well, no matter what you build today, it's going to be ADA
Right.
compliant.
But I would also like to see that it was LEED, that there's sustainable products being used. There's, I would like to be able to really do it the right
And you're
way.
going to see that most of the time now, too.
Right.
I think
Right.
you'd be better off going like high efficiency than lead, just because you can end
Absolutely.
up paying a lot of money for things on lead that maybe aren't as beneficial.
Yeah.
But still, obviously pushing to do the right things for everything.
Yeah. And I think if we play our cards right, we would be able to use this as a model for other towns. That's kind of what I'm gearing it for, because Massachusetts has always been a leader in thinking outside the box, and I want to continue with that. And it would be nice to be able to have a little gem in Townsend here to say that we did do that. So that's kind of my ideas. What do you think, Nat?
No, I agree, because we need affordable housing. I mean, even after going to, I'll say Sojourn, because it gave us an example of what other communities are doing, whether it be used as Sojourn, whether it be used as 55 or over. What we saw is what we would need in this community.
Right.
Because again, the seniors are, we're all getting older, everything changes in the perspective, but I'm just saying, you need multi-use. But what we saw at Sojourn, for what we may need, you've got the units right there too, to follow, not model, but, think about.
And I agree with you, Kev, that we need to restructure and formulate it so that if there's any taxes, it goes to the town so the town can benefit from it, but more importantly that we manage it, that it's managed by the town so that we can make the decisions that need to be made, so that if one building was deemed as over 55 and the need changed within the town can then change that building
Correct.
over to where it needs to be a multi-use. It could be
And if the town has maintained some control over it, then that's not a problem. And the monies are going to the town,
Yes. Yes.
rather than the land going to somebody else, that now the town has lost all control over it, and as what has happened over there.
Right.
That's when you get, it's tough. And that's only myself personally, I just have always felt that was a bad move for the town. Because when you give up control, you give up the land, you give up control. Yeah.
Well, I agree. We're doing it
You
the
don't
right
own
way
it,
this
you have
time.
no control.
Yep.
Can you give that land away? And essentially is what happened.
Yeah.
And it happened twice,
Yeah. And I feel like we kind of let our townspeople down, to be honest with you.
in my opinion.
I feel that
And
way
I was
too.
involved in it. I didn't like it, but I was could hope that as the town moves forward, that I'm not saying that they learn from it, but that they just would look at it from a different perspective and hope that the town could maintain some kind of control over it, because the townspeople, there's people from all over the place that are in those buildings. They're not necessarily town residents. And obviously they have to have a place to stay, and they met the criteria to move in there.
Yeah.
But it was their criteria, not ours.
Right. And the open lottery and all of that. Yeah. I agree.
Like I say, that's only my personal opinion as a taxpayer in the town.
Well, and I want to keep all those ideas on the table, because I value the more input we have on this, I think the better the product is going to be at the end. I believe that. Anything else? No?
Good.
Correspondence. I did want to talk about one thing first. I had received an email in regards to a family that was in dire need of housing. I went ahead and answered that like I normally do. I normally answer that, we don't own any property, that kind of stuff. But because I am in the human services field, and there were extenuating circumstances, I didn't bring the letter I didn't want to put the letter here because I didn't feel that the information was necessary for public knowledge. But I did want to let you guys know that I had also given out other resources for this individual, and I actually got a phone call yesterday that she has retained a place in that,
Good.
that everything, and she thanked me very much for helping her out. So that was one correspondence. The second one was I included it with your packet there, and I didn't include it in my packet. But it was a question in regards to, and Kevin, I'm going to lead to you. The question is if we have any information regarding affordable housing opportunities that's going in Lois Lane off of Coppersmith Way. Do you know anything about that?
Well, we owned it for a short time. Mr. Chaplin, Ken Chaplin owns it now, and there's a 40B home in there. I don't believe there's two, there's one. I believe it's on the corner of Lois Lane and Coppersmith. I don't know if it's available, or if it's available, if it has been sold. I even talked to him about it recently. The house is up, and it's one that's in the 40B program.
Okay.
I also understand that there's a house over there that down the road a little further that's a 40B that's going to be going on the market. I believe it's this summer.
That's affordable housing?
That's an affordable 40B unit.
This summer?
Yeah, because there was some septic issues that had to be addressed.
Okay.
And
That one is in our inventory,
I met the
I
owner.
think.
Yes, that one would be in the inventory.
Yep.
I met the owner, nice fellow, I can't think of his name. And he said he was planning on selling this summer or this fall.
Okay.
But that's already in the housing stock. This one that Ken's building now, might still be under construction, is the one that was part of that phase
The
of the
original.
subdivision. Well, no, the last phase of the subdivision.
Okay.
The first and second phase, those units were sold.
Okay. Because I would like to get into contact with him so that I can get the paperwork to file to DHCD, so we can definitely get that on the inventory, number one. But number two is if they're going to market it or how they're going to sell it to.
I will give you his number.
Okay. Because that would help us out a little bit with the inventory. So I had sent an email back to this individual, letting her know that I know that there has been a lot of activity over the years in regards to that area. And I do know that there are some 40B houses over there, but I'm not really sure.
Well, one just got taken out of stock.
Yeah. Over there. Yep.
Yep. Couldn't get rid of it.
Yep. And that's what we're kind of, when I was talking to Lori about that, when that came about, that's where I feel that the Housing Authority needs to be a little proactive as well. When something like that comes out, we need to.
But when they sit on the market, and that house was priced fairly, as an affordable, very fairly.
Yeah.
They sit on the market, and they sit on the market for a year with no buyers.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that's a time frame, but I think it is.
Right, and
180
as a
days,
housing
maybe.
authority, if we had a pool of interested parties
But
or,
it's getting the people approved.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
is sometimes a little tough.
right, but getting the word out that we
Getting
have
the
it
word out
available.
is a good thing, and like I say, I think that you're going to find that this one, if it's not available, it should be available pretty soon. If it's not already sold, I don't know.
Right, and that way I can then start the process of drumming more interest. I think before we didn't have any, I don't think DHCD was involved in that, or CDAC, or anybody.
No, they were.
They were?
They were. I believe they were. No, I think they were. I'm not. It's funny. I'm not sure. We only owned it for a week or two.
Yeah, but there's,
We didn't do
I think
anything
the Housing
else.
Authority should have really done a little more than what we should have looked to other agencies to say, we have a affordable house available, what do we need to do to get the word out for this? And I don't think none of that was, they listed it and that kind of stuff. And my understanding of what they do is they list it in 4 or 5 different things, you know what I mean? And that's all they
It
need
was
to
listed
do.
with a realtor as well as affordable.
Right, but
No.
again, if somebody's not
But if somebody's not looking out on MLS or looking out there,
Yeah.
they're looking at the local community level.
Yeah.
May not. Maybe just I don't know.
Yeah,
Hard
and
to say.
there's other agencies that I know that I work with on a day-to-day basis that they have people that would be looking for something like that, and they wouldn't know an opportunity like that because they wouldn't afford
Yeah.
to be able to have a realtor looking for it or whatever,
Or be looking under MLS or anything.
Absolutely. So that's where I feel we could have done a little more than that.
That's a good point.
So I think that's another avenue that we need to keep open, because our goal is to keep the affordable, to look for affordable options for our people. And it may have been on MLS, but does some townspeople really know if that was available? I don't even know
I
that.
believe I believe he has to notify the town that it's getting ready to go.
Right, but then how do we notify the people? Is what I'm saying.
Correct.
That's
Well, sometimes there's a list. In years past, we've had a list. We've had lists of people that we could turn to. In that particular case, it was another developer, and we would turn those names over to the developer. That these people have inquired.
right, and we don't have those lists. So that's we need to. That's the part of the, I think the piece is that we need to figure out what we need to do as an organization to make sure that these
Yeah,
things
that's only
don't.
one long unit. Yeah, I can see before when he was building it, there was people, and we were turning that information over. But now, of course, those are all gone,
Mhm,
and now there was just that one lone unit
mhm.
in that last phase of the subdivision. And I think it's just, we've got to reach out to him and figure out when that's going to be done and ready, if it's not already gone.
Okay.
And then at least we can post it, or whatever we did before. Lori would know. I just can't recall.
Yeah, Lori will know. I also have, there's a woman, Kristen, that I've been working with at DHCD, and there are, I forget what she called it, they're like notifiers or something, where I call into a particular area and I give the listing to them. They then in turn send it out to the agencies that are helping people look for affordable housing in the state, so that it gets on some kind of list.
I think this was all kept local for the last In fact, I don't think it went out to the whole state.
Yeah, but if it's out there for a year and then we lost the affordability on it, you know what I mean?
Well, that was marketed, that was in MLS, that was listed in MLS. If you lived in Boston, you could see it,
Yeah, but,
you know. Yeah, I know.
you know, it's,
Yeah, you can, you try to put the tools out there and see what, you know.
yeah, and I'm saying that this disservice that I feel is that we get, on a daily basis, we get those from people writing into the housing authority, but they're writing into like Fitchburg and all of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And we get those, applications, but because we don't have housing, we can't process it. But those are the kind of things that we need to capture so that when we do have an opportunity like this, we can send them to those agencies that are helping these people fill out the application to say, hey, look, we got an affordable house here, and through their agencies, they should be able to do it. Because there's no intra-agent or intra, whatever it is, agency kind of information, That's where it really needs to go, to the people that are actually filing for, hey, I got a voucher and now I need some kind of place to live,
Right.
Because eventually I'd like to see us being able to do vouchers in this town. I'd like for us to be able to really do what we should be doing as a housing authority, and be in control of the affordable housing as opposed to someone else being in control of it. To get back to what we were saying earlier. And the only other other mail was
Yeah.
this worker's business owner asking us if we want $150 cash back if we open up a checking account or something, so I don't think it is. Kev, do you know anything about, this is a memorandum from the town for the boards appointed. What is that? Do we all have to submit that?
I'm not really sure.
Does
You probably should check with Carolyn on that
Okay,
and find out.
okay. Because all they're asking for are our name, our address, our email address, and all that kind of
Fine.
stuff, yeah.
I
They should
think
have
it's-
that anyway, so
Yeah, they
Updated.
have it,
updated, maybe they want updated.
but I
But
don't-
Kathy
the
has it.
selectmen, the selectmen say that they need to appoint us.
Maybe they do because,
Do they need to? We're elected. See,
Ask
that's why I'm
Carolyn.
confused.
I don't know.
So, what I'll do then, I'll talk with Carolyn about that, and if it is, then I'll just email everybody that if you can fill it
Well,
out.
I think this would be new appointments, as in,
That's what I'm thinking. We do
Yeah,
that
this-
anyway.
Yeah, I don't think this really has anything to do with how we normally operate here. That's just a request form for, in this particular case.
Yeah.
You know, Courtney's application. This would
Gotcha,
be,
yeah.
fill this out
Okay.
for Courtney.
But when you're elected, you have all that information on your nomination papers anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. And,
I thought it was for appointment, but it's for appointment and reappointment.
yeah.
Reappointment.
Yeah, does the selectmen doesn't,
Check with.
selectmen
the-
they don't appoint the officials every year. We're elected for a certain term.
Correct, and then they'll reappoint you.
Right, and when they're is the appointment's only for a year, or is the appointment,
Well, if you say your term is for 2 years,
yeah,
for example, I don't know what my term is, but I don't really pay much attention to it. They usually calls me. But nonetheless, your appointment is getting close to being up. Fill out, if you want to be reappointed by the selectmen, you fill this out, I imagine get it over to the town clerk, and then they would stamp it in.
Right.
And that would go before, it's like you got a volunteer form downstairs. Initially, you're filling out like a volunteer form.
right,
If you've never served in town government before, you'd go down and fill out a volunteer form, which is probably something you filled out initially.
yeah,
Probably went in, filled out a volunteer form saying, I'd be
Yeah.
available,
I'm getting it.
I'm interested in this and that, and if the town ever has any vacancies on this board or this board, please consider me. So then you get appointed if the selectmen would go ahead and appoint the person, and the person's term is for X amount of time, they want to get reappointed, you fill this form out, I believe.
Okay.
But check with
Carolyn.
just check with her just to make sure. But I
Okay.
believe I think that's how it works,
Okay.
as I recall.
And as far as the minutes are concerned, we don't really have any, and I think I wanted to talk with you offline about how we're
Yeah.
gonna finish that out.
Okay.
Because I'd like to get those taken care of. Our administrative help is going to be engaging in July, as of July.
July 1st, isn't it?
Right, that's when we're able to use that as an administrative function.
Yeah.
But before that, the land use, it's not the land use coordinator, it's the land use administrator now, according to what was,
Be Miss Lindsay Butler, I
yes,
believe.
yeah.
She'll be helping this board.
Yeah, and she and I had a conversation, and she's going to help us out with some of the things that we need on a tactical basis,
Yeah, correct.
and then the administrative stuff will start in July.
Fine young lady.
Yes, I agree. I'm very glad to have her here. Outside of that, next meeting date, my friends. We can use this as our meeting for May, so that would go into June.
Okay.
Now, Wednesdays is the day that's been good for everybody. Is that still, What I'll think, Kev, is that are you going to be submitting your formal today or as of tomorrow?
It'll be, I'll attend the next meeting probably. Oh, no, wait a minute, I should do it before. I
Yeah.
should do it before so she can get in and be appointed by the
Yeah.
selectmen. I'll have it in next week early.
Okay. Can you just let me know when you do that?
We'll send it to you.
And then what we can do is once that
We'll email
goes...
it to you.
Yeah.
Well, I won't. My office will.
We talked to your daughter about that, right? She'll email it to me. So when you submit that, if you can let me know, and then I'll work out what the posting time is, and then I'll email you and let you know what we're looking at. And then we can...
Would you email me too?
Oh, I'll keep you on. Oh, yeah, I will do that.
Exactly, we won't forget about you, buddy.
Thank you.
What I can do is, once we find out what that time period is, it's going to be a short, so we can get together so that we could vote for Courtney being in, and then apply, put in to see if we can get on the next Board of Selectmen to get you appointed, as far as that's concerned.
Which would probably be the following Tuesday.
Right, once we do that. So, without Lori being here, I'm going to propose that we try for June 12th.
Okay.
And then I'll check with her to find out if June 12th is there. So, 7 o'clock, is that a good time for everybody?
Yes.
Courtney, that's a good time for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll do June 12th at 7 o'clock. And then if we do not meet before that, in regards to that, it would be just an emergency meeting. I would need 48 hours notice to post. Once we post, we can meet. That can be very short. We'll open up the meeting, do our business, do our vote, and then close the meeting, so it could be 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then we'll just call that as our next meeting. So if you have any agenda items that you'd like to talk about, if you can get them to me sometime around the 3rd or the 4th of June, and then I can make sure that they're on the agenda for that Wednesday.
If I have any, they'll be as a private citizen.
I'll still put them on there and invite you in.
I can sit where she's sitting.
And outside of that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded.
7:59.
7:59.
Bruins.
Might as well call it 8, because by the time we get out of the chair, we'll be 8 on the money.
Thank you very much, folks. And again, I just want to say that if anyone is interested, or anyone have a student that would be interested in helping the Housing Authority video our meetings, we'll be more than glad to entertain. Fill out a volunteer form. You can also go on to, you can send me an email at housing@townsend.ma.us. And let me know your interest, and then I can get back in touch with you. But Hartley would like a little help if anybody's interested. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.